Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is your boy, the coach from the WWE. I would like to welcome you to the very first wrestling podcast in the world to take you on a weekly deep dive into classic matches along with legends of the squared circle. Enjoy the discussion. Enjoy the back and forth. There's so much to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Payoff.
He's American made. Dun, dun, dun. I hate that song, by the way, but I just watched it and listened to it. So,
is that your version of the song or the actual version of the song?
That's the Hulk Hogan WCW theme.
Your angelic pipes were really something there. So
it's a terrible song. There's some people that prefer it over Real American, believe it or not.
Yeah, well, they're definitely not real Americans. That's for sure. Like that.
I don't like that. I don't like Hogan coming out to the whatever the song was that he came out to in WWE when he came back before he went back to Real American.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. I forgot that was a thing too.
Yeah. It's like the Jimi Hendrix, whatever the hell it was. I forget. Anyways, how the hell are you doing, Jeff?
Oh man. You know what? We're just happy Halloween. We won't, the week of, we're doing that. And so celebrating as we should with some Halloween Havoc and doing that.
By the way, I'm not telling you, you'll get a picture, but Halloween theme for the family this year.
I'm excited for you about that. This is because we didn't really do anything last year because of COVID. The girlfriend has been dropping on me couples costumes for the first time, and so
that's apparently a big move.
That's a big step. We're sharing passwords, and apparently now we're doing couples costumes for Halloween. And so this is new to me. I've never been this deep in a relationship, and so here we go. So that's well, I'll have to let you know exactly what we go with because
look at you.
Oh man, just crazy. So
how much? So this is the most serious relationship you've ever been in?
Probably definitely. Well, not longest, but in regards to like future plans and stuff like that, definitely the most serious one. Yep.
How much of your success do you attribute to being Manscaped?
There has definitely been an uptick in just compliments. I would definitely say that. No complaints, definitely no complaints. That's always been really nice. Part of it's on me. It's forced me to, clean up my act a little bit, which is nice. Like once a week, maybe twice a week if I'm feeling good. There's no reason not to use our payoff code and use Manscaped. I'm glad, even if we weren't working with them, I would have hoped that I would have found it on my own because it's absolutely worth it.
What of everything? Because we've tried quite a few of the things. I actually, that ball deodorant, I used that for the first time last night in a while. I like that a lot. And then I used that little spray.
I think the best decision I made was going from the 3.0 to the 4.0. I'm actually a big fan of, I say having to constantly plug it in, not constantly, but I just drop it in the charger and it's ready to go for the next time. It charges super fast. It's absolutely for me, that's great. And I in the shower, it's, instead of having the plug at the bottom now, it's all enclosed, so it's better waterproof and stuff like that. And so, we'd have to ask her. We'll have to get her on the show one day and just, help us with one of these ads and let us know. But overall, for everybody else, no matter who you're trying to please, it doesn't matter. Make sure that you're going to manscaped.com. Payoff 20 is our code. You get 20% off and free shipping. It's absolutely worth it. It's a little bit chillier now. Spend a little bit more time at home. Clean yourself up a little bit, feel good, with those nights that you guys are spending, together, cuddled up close, trying to stay warm. Keep your man garden clean. That's what everybody should be doing. Payoff 20% off free shipping.
Love it. Payoff.
Thanks for asking, man. I appreciate that.
No, nice. no problem. And just because it's the winter doesn't mean that, knock on wood, hopefully, nobody's going to see you with your shirt off until bathing suit season again. So
you never know.
You gotta stay clean throughout the winter.
I do. Yep.
So let's get down to business here. Hogan Flair retirement match, steel cage, 94. So this is kind of the follow up to Hogan coming into WCW and winning the title. For me, I'm just curious to see these two in another match. I've never seen this match, and I think it'll be a fun one. What about you?
Yeah, I think this is, so we have talked about his coming into WCW, Hogan's, and that Bash at the Beach match. We've covered that. Go back, check it out in the Payoff Archives. But yeah, this is kind of the next step, and so figuring what happened, what went here. And so I remember on our last episode, I went back and we talked up to this match. And then now we're going to talk kind of what happened after this. And so I am kind of excited about that because we'll talk about it after because there were some things. And so definitely interesting kind of what they did with him and how it played out. But yeah, it's just the storyline playing out. And that's what we're here for is, the build, the payoff in the aftermath. And that's what we're talking about. So
good. Let's get into the build.
Oh, it's time for the build.
So Halloween Havoc, 1994.
There you go.
Joe Louis Arena, Detroit, Michigan.
The now demolished Joe. Yeah. Lots of good memories at the Joe.
Your old stomping grounds.
Yep.
So, we were a couple weeks ago, we were talking about a 10-minute time limit draw. Here we are again. Johnny B. Bad, Honky Tonk Man, 10-minute time limit draw for the World Television Championship. So clearly they had a 10-minute time limit for the TV title. They didn't for any of their other titles. The next match was for the World Tag Team Championship, and it went 13 minutes. And other matches without titles went over 10 minutes. So it's weird that a title match would have a time limit that was shorter than other ones.
For your continuity's sake here, on the next pay-per-view Starrcade, they had a 12-minute television championship match. So who knows?
Are you kidding me?
No joke. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. So again, you say, oh, well, why was WCW struggling during this time period? Well, because of stupid shit like this. And was it the end all be all? No, but it was dumb rules. For a while they were doing, remember when they used to do the over the top rope was a DQ? I think for a while they banned jumping off the top rope. You had storylines that didn't make sense. The production was not great compared to the WWF. So, I mean, you just look at all this stupid shit and you add it all up and it just makes no sense. Pretty wonderful. Orndorff and Roma defeating Stars and Stripes to win the tag team championship. Dave Sullivan and Kevin Sullivan go to a count out. Dustin Rhodes defeats Arn Anderson. Jim Duggan retains his U.S. championship against Steve Austin. Vader defeats the Guardian Angel, otherwise known as the Big Boss Man. Nasty Boys defeating Terry Funk and Bunkhouse Buck. And then so really overall, very weak show. And remember, Halloween Havoc was, if it wasn't the top show, it was right in there with Halloween Havoc with Starrcade as being one of their big shows. And so this was really a one-match show, which is the Steel Cage retirement match. We have Mr. T as the guest referee. We have Jimmy Hart and Brutus Beefcake in Hogan's corner. We have Sensationalish at this point, Sherry in Flair's corner. We got Buffer on the call. A big fight feel to this thing. I was just watching the entrances a minute ago and really big match feel. So it's exciting, but what a shit card. And, from a star standpoint, gosh, Jeff, there's only one match on this show outside of the main event that even did above 2 stars. And there was a 3-star match, Rhodes and Arn, but really it was duds. It was 1 stars, a couple 2 stars. So really nothing on this show. The star power wasn't even that great. Sting's nowhere to be found. Vader's in a bullshit match. Cactus Jack isn't here anymore. Honky Tonk Man, not much left in the tank there. So there really wasn't much to see on this show. storyline standpoint, Jeff, how do we get this storyline continuing? Because if everyone remembers, Hogan comes in, he gets the immediate title shot against Flair. He wins. Kind of an odd way to start, right?
Yep.
So then what are we going to do to keep people's interest? Because Hogan's not chasing anyone.
Yeah. And so as we kind of, said on our previous, go back in the archives for their Hogan's debut here and then the Bash at the Beach match, a lot of build up to, Hogan coming over. There was, some on TV things and, there was the big parade and things like that of him coming in at Disney, MGM Studios and doing all that. And so really it was, I say, through early 1994. And then June is when, they had the ceremony with him coming in and things like that. So it was July then when he had, with Jimmy Hart and kind of having the match at Bash at the Beach. That would have been July 17th, 1994. And so really, I feel like, like you said, very quick, like comes in and that's it. He gets this, the quote unquote dream match with Ric Flair and beats him at Bash at the Beach. And so really these guys continued to have a feud. And so after this, there was a count out match at Clash of the Champions. This would have been 25, 6, 7, 8. And so Hogan retaining the title because it was a count out win. And then, really getting to this, I mean, it was very quick. Like then we get to this match with, the steel cage, Mr. T, career, all that different stuff. And so that Clash of the Champions was August 24th. And then we right away we get into this. And so just, it's almost unusual with how kind of quickly it happened and things like that. Now that was with Hogan, like just, strap the rocket, if you will. Flair, on the other hand, though, that same show, actually, he beat the Clash of the Champions show, beat Sting. It was the title unification match. It was the WCW International World Heavyweight Championship and the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. And so also at that time, aligning himself with Sherry, there were shenanigans during that one where it looked like she was going to help Sting, didn't help Sting. She aligned with Flair. She's a heel. Flair's a heel. We've got unified titles. And so him becoming, though, the unified undisputed WCW champion with that as well, too. And so again, that was prior to, the Bash at the Beach match, and then them having that and him losing at that one. And then really just not a ton, I think, partially because how quickly, they decided to do this. And so they didn't do a whole lot of build because, when what's there to it when Hogan's first match, he's the champ. So they got to do something, though, to add a little bit to it. And so that's, like you said, we get Mr. T being the special guest referee. You get the steel cage match here, and we just jump right into it. And that's it. And and Flair's retirement match as well, too, which we'll talk about. I say retirement. We'll talk about that after, of course. We know how that has since played out, his retirement. He had a very, very peaceful retirement, which we'll talk about. So, we'll get into that.
Yeah, I'll point out the irony of that during the match. Good. Yeah. Well, I'm pumped to cover this one. I mean, I know it was well rated, and that was part of the reason we covered it. So should be a pretty darn good match. We're at the 2 hour and 10-minute mark of Halloween Havoc 1994 season 6 for your Peacock users out there. 2 hour, 10-minute mark, Halloween Havoc. Cage is about to come down crooked. Jeff, are you ready?
Yep, let's do this, my friend.
All right. It is time for the payoff.
Oh, it's time for the payoff.
So, like I said, this has a really big fight feel to it, more so than I was expecting. I think like the grandiose, Flair entrance with the pyro and the robe, and then Hogan's Hogan. He's got Hart and Beefcake with him. Now, interestingly enough, and you may cover this in the aftermath, but, I saw Brutus with him, and, Brutus looks like a schmuck dressed like Hogan, kind of as his lackey. And keep in mind, next pay-per-view, Hogan and Beefcake are your main event, and Beefcake's known as the Butcher. So, in a relatively short period of time, under 8 weeks, we went from, Brutus forming this new gimmick and turning on Hogan. I don't remember how it happened. I don't know if you're going to cover it or if we'll talk about it on another.
We'll talk about it a little bit. Yep.
Okay. But yeah, I have no idea how that even happened. So Cage coming down again, big fight fielded this one. Jeff, I'll tell you something interesting. So Hogan wins the title immediately. And then the following pay-per-view, okay? And remember, it's not like there's a ton of stuff happening on Nitro because Nitro didn't exist. So the pay-per-views really were the heart and soul. The next pay-per-view, Hogan's not even on it.
Yep.
So what they did was a triangle elimination match between Vader, Sting, and the Guardian Angel to determine the number one contender. But then oddly enough, Vader didn't get his shot, not at the next pay-per-view, not at the pay-per-view after that, but the pay-per-view after that, which was early the following year, Vader finally gets his crack at Hogan's title. So I don't know if there was an injury or what happened, but I thought that was interesting. That triangle match, that went 30 freaking minutes. I mean, that's Jesus. A long match. Yeah, I know it's a long match. But it was just interesting. It's like, and I know Hogan had limited dates and had other stuff going on, but I was just surprised that the follow-up to this wasn't the rematch or Hogan against someone else. It was no Hogan to be found. The main event of that was a War Games match. I can't imagine it was a very good one. It was Dusty, Dustin, and the Nasty Boys defeating Terry Funk, Arn Anderson, Bunkhouse Buck, and Colonel Robert Parker, who are company.
What year was that War Games?
So that would have been the Fall Brawl 1994. It has to be one of the worst rated War Games ever. And I would assume you're asking because you're looking it up. Oh, and by the way, on that show I'm referring to, Jim Duggan defeats Steve Austin for the U.S. title in 35 seconds.
So this is going to shock you. So,
and Cactus Jack lost a loser leaves WCW match. So a lot of stuff happening in that show. Let's hear it.
Fall Brawl, the three-way was 3.7 stars, according to Meltzer. And your War Games was 3.25 stars. So not to say that they were good, because that is just a Meltzer rating, but it might be one to go back and at least see if it's worthy of our attention. All right, so we're getting into it.
What do you have on? Give me your timestamp right now. I think I may have paused it by accident.
So we're at 2:13, 30, 31, 32. And so, yeah, we got Irish whip into the corner here. Flair getting tossed over the top here.
All right, we're good now. So just so everyone knows, I think when you switch browsers, Peacock may pause.
And so, I'm
caught up now. I am at 2:13:53.
We're fine. Yep. Okay. We got Hogan up in the corner, pounding on Flair at this point. I do want to shout out.
I like this cage.
Yeah, it's very janky looking. Actually, of course, no footholes, no top on this one. Just
it's short. I'd say the only problem is it is short. But
yep.
And do we know the rules? Is it pinfall? Is it elimination? What do we know? Can you climb it?
We're going to figure it out.
Okay,
so we're just watching this to enjoy this one. I do want to shout out Mr. T in the Detroit Red Wing wind jacket, the one that the style, the pullover that I think everyone had in the 90s. And so shout out to that and Joe, former home of the Red Wings. So I
love seeing these two against each other in their primes. And I know it's not going to be a 5-star, Omega Danielson match, but dude, it's just fun to see these two in their prime, just two freaking legends.
Well, and we do need to talk about, this was still, it feels odd to say, and I'm going to talk about it after the fact, but Hogan's still trying to go over with the WCW crowd. He had come in, he's their champ, but he'd been there for 6 months, not even 6 months, like 4 months, and so it really hadn't, yes, you'd seen him in WWE and things like that, or WWF at the time, but not a whole lot happening outside of that though. And so, now to see him here though, really trying to get over with the, and not that it's like I said, it feels odd to say that Hogan needs to get over with the fans, but yeah.
But I don't think you do a baby face any favors when you immediately, is that Sting, by the way?
I don't know. It was too close. It was just someone wearing, it could have been
like a dude in sunglasses. And I'm like, is that Sting or just some random fan? I don't know. Well, maybe we'll find out. But you don't do a baby face any favors by immediately getting the title. Now, if he was a heel and it's like, hey, some badass new heel came in, like Lesnar when he, kind of debuted and just beat everyone's ass for a few months and beat The Rock. Like that makes sense. But like as a babyface, I just don't understand the immediate title thing. Again, 2020 hindsight, we're talking all this time later, but gosh, wouldn't you have tried to get a few like just big kind of attraction matches out of him? Maybe you put him with Mr. T in a match. Maybe you put him against, Vader or someone else to start. And then, we finally get to the Flair match at Starrcade, Muhammad Ali in the audience. We finally get to Starrcade or, some other show, and he wins the title. So I think part of why he was never really accepted as a babyface. There's a number of reasons, but I think first and foremost, how they brought him in. And if they would have brought him in without immediately giving him to the title and being forced down everyone's throat, it may have worked better. But at the same time, the Hogan act had kind of gotten old. We've gotten old in the WWF too. Mm-hmm. Hey, something else. I was just thinking about this morning is, and I'm sure someone else has thought of this, but I haven't seen it or I hadn't thought about prior. WrestleMania 38 in Texas. Are we to assume that the Hall of Fame main event is Taker?
I don't know. Yeah, okay.
He's got to be the headliner, right? And they've kept him off TV in a way, so it'll be good to see him back. I just figure that's kind of like a no-brainer. Don't think he's going to wrestle, but who the hell knows? But yeah, I assume he's probably going to headline the Hall of Fame.
See, I'm wondering that, or do you wait until LA and make that him be the attraction in LA? And I could see both actually. Texas does make more sense, like us sitting here right now, but also if you're going for this, the star-studded, biggest event, doing LA, doing Hollywood, doing it all that, I could see them holding off a year or two because it may if I say first ballot, is it time for him to already go into the hall? I get we still have some guys that wrestle in their Hall of Famers, but is it too soon? At least in regards to just, I don't know, that's almost weird to say.
LA feels like Rock Hall of Fame and Rock reigns in the main event.
You think they'll wait that long?
I don't know. What, you think we get Rock Reigns this year?
I don't know. It's so what they're doing with Roman, I don't know what direction they're going with it. It's just, I feel like he's involved in every story. I think in WWE's eyes, they only have one needle moving box office attraction, and it's Roman Reigns. Yep.
What other major star do they have?
I mean, not even
McIntyre, Lashley,
no,
Edge, Rollins, KO.
I mean, and I don't think Big E.
There is no other box office attraction except Goldberg and Lesnar.
And I don't think they're ready to. I think while they gave it to Goldberg, it's hard to say, or not Goldberg. Whoa, sorry. And they gave it to Big E. Are they gonna fuck it up like they did Kofi? And just he's gonna lose it in a squash match? God, I hope not.
As of this recording, we don't. At this point, we don't know unless something drops relatively soon what exactly WrestleMania 38 is going to look like.
Right.
And so I've seen everything from one night to two nights. I've seen the idea of SmackDown and or Raw also being in a smaller configuration of WrestleMania 38's site. I've seen I would assume it's a smaller college football stadium. I don't know if it's like SMU or who it is hosting either SmackDown or Raw. I believe the arena is out for one or both of them because of the Mavericks. So I don't know. I mean, I guess, what do you want to see at this point? Do you like the Hogan kind of firing up here? And good match so far, man. I believe pinfall, by the way, there was an attempted pinfall. And
they tried climbing over too. So yeah.
Flair already bladed, but he's not getting any blood. So Hogan's just trying to bite his forehead. Normal.
Yeah, I'm with you.
At this point, what's your dream WrestleMania weekend in terms of not just Dallas, but in general for like venues? When do you do the Hall of Fame? When do you do NXT? Just everything.
I wish I would be okay with a one night, and it's going to sound like a lot, but like 5 hours. Like, and that might seem odd to say because now we're getting like 5 hours like each night, but I think that you can cut the program down and like, no, you know what? The reality is not everybody deserves or should be on WrestleMania. There's some matches that should, there's a lot that we could do without. And part of it is if people are going to earn that right, and that's what it is. Like, let's go back. Like, 2 nights is very nice, especially if from a TV perspective. So you're not in front of TV for 10 hours or 8 hours, you say, and you're not up, if you're East Coast, you're not up till 1 a.m. 2 nights though, in person is hell because you got to account for 2 nights. They make more money over 2 nights, but whatever. But I think even if you say 6 hours, like with a pre-show type thing, like cut it down. It's so that it's more manageable. And then too, anymore, it used to be like 3 hours was your standard pay-per-view. Anymore, who knows what the length of a pay-per-view is going to be. But I think if you get back to some of that, like for me, if I like going in person, that would be enjoyable because we've seen it. Like you bust your nut too quick and you don't want to watch it. And not necessarily you don't want to watch it, but you just lose interest. And there's certain points where it doesn't matter how stacked your card is and how you've laid it out. Like at a certain point, people are just going to be tired. Like that's how it is. Like it's impossible for people. It's like, 8 hours of nonstop cheering and stuff like that. Like that's why, it was like shocking when they opened with the Brock match. Like, yeah, keep them hyped. Like, let's do that. And so, Seth cashes in late. Yeah, it gets a pop, but after 7-8 hours, like, you're just really tired. And so is that what you really want your fans? Like when you pan over the crowd and it looking like and stuff? No, like, you want them to be psyched up. You want them to be excited and it's hard to do that. So it's a long-winded answer, but I think there's a lot of things they can do to fix Mania in 2 nights. And I've said it in the past, like 2 nights is worth it, but it's not always worth it either. Like there are some other solutions that they could do too.
Well, and so a couple things. First of all, really good match so far. I think you can escape the cage if you want to. Mr. T's carrying around Hogan's shirt somehow. I don't know why he's still carrying it.
He couldn't throw it over the top. I don't know why. Yeah, like you said, he's still holding it, but yeah.
And his counts are so small and like bad. It's really makes no sense. Anyways, so WWE is going to do whatever they have to do from a business standpoint. So if they think 2 nights of a gate is better, they're going to do that. If Peacock prefers 2 nights of WrestleMania, they're going to do it. So we're not whatever we get is going to be what's best for business, not what's best for fans. I agree. As a fan, give me 1 5-hour show. I also think it dilutes things like Sasha and Bianca, their main event. Is historic as it was, it kind of has an asterisk because it was the main event of night 1. Yeah. So to me, and I think it was main event worthy, but I would have liked to see it end a 5-hour show, not end night 1 of a 2-night series. Yep. Okay. So I think it dilutes the main event thing. In WrestleMania, I like the kind of cadence it's been following, in terms of like the 1-night shows, where it was like, I think the way it was described is like every hour has a main event. So we have a great big opener and then hour 1, hour 2, hour 3, like there's like a main event every hour. And that's where you space out Batista and Triple H. It's a big match, man. But that was like the beginning of hour 3, and the Taker match might've been the beginning of hour 2. And I like that cadence, but I want 1 night, no question. And again, Friday, maybe you do a bigger SmackDown. Maybe it's, at a football stadium or it's in a bigger venue or it's outdoors or whatever it might be. Maybe even same with Monday, the night after for Raw. I'd try to really the Raw after is always a big deal. Maybe the SmackDown before becomes a really damn big deal too. Hey, we're actually having a match to see who qualifies for one of the main events, right? Just like do something big ass on that Friday night. So I'd really try to create more value around SmackDown on Friday. Saturday Hall of Fame just feels good to me, but Saturday NXT works too. And then Sunday you have your big 5-hour show. And NXT or Hall of Fame, whichever you don't do it on Thursday night. Do it on Peacock on Thursday.
Well, and I think too, so you got Flair kind of got Hogan in the figure 4, but Hogan kind of psyching himself up and not affecting him. We have to look at the reality. And again, you and I've said it on the show before. I think I sent you the link. We're big fans of WrestleNomics around here. And kind of some of the statistics they have. And the reality is, I think between the 5 Saudi events up through 2020, they made, you figure $50 million each, was $250 million. All WrestleMania ticket sales from 1985 to 2019, because 2020 not like happening, $210 million. So in the 5 Saudi shows have made more money than all of WrestleManias combined. And this is from WrestleNomics in the article that they had. And so, it's just, and the other part, because, and for another measure of context, 50 million is roughly an entire year's revenue for New Japan Wrestling, which is probably the number 3 wrestling company in the world for revenue, All Elite being number 2. And so New Japan generated 52 million in 1 year between August 2018 and July 2019. Its most recent, non-pandemic year. So, I think you have to take that into account. You got Sherry climbing the cage now.
Mr. T's out, ref bump. Sherry's climbing. Jimmy Hart's climbing behind her. Jimmy Hart
scale that motherfucker. Whoa, yeah. Whoa, hello. And so pulled off Sherry's dress, scantily clad now, her underwear and stocking. Yep. And Jimmy's not sure what's happening. Yikes. Good little spot there. Jimmy getting pushed into the camera. Sherry, though, undeterred. Sherry climbing the cage in her underwear. Yep. Okay.
It was Sting.
Yep. Look at Sting.
And now Sting's holding Sherry down. Sting's
trying to stop her. Yep.
I feel like this is not going to age well.
And then someone climbing out from under the ring, masked and hitting Sting, hitting Jimmy Hart
with a baseball bat.
There's a masked and all black individual. We don't know who. He's hitting the cage, trying to open the door. Sherry again. Wow. Skilled climber. Sherry, look at her on the top of the cage. Did not remember this at all. She's standing on the corner. Oh, in a terrible spot. Jumping down, trying to hit Hogan with an axe handle and really just not doing anything. Flair now taking out the leg. You've got this masked individual climbing on the cage. Sherry. Wow. Just expert climber. Sherry, did not know that about her. Good for her.
If you know who the masked individual is, do not say anything because I do not know who it is.
All right, that's fine. We'll keep that quiet. Yep.
Okay. Now, Mr. T, the referee, is getting handcuffed to the ropes by Sherry.
Sherry handcuffing him. Yep.
Sherry
Mr. T
in
now.
lingerie, double teaming Hogan along with Flair. The guy with the baseball bat holding it. Hogan just
hitting Hogan against the bip.
Now he's gone.
Sherry climbing out again. Boy, why did she do more cage match? She's climbing faster than some of the people we've seen. Jeez. Oh, Flair stomping on Mr. T.
Okay, so Hogan getting beat up pretty good. You want some good Meltzer stuff from this era?
Sure.
WCW's already making plans for Flair to return as Hulk Hogan's tag team partner for the second pay-per-view show of 1995.
Yeah, that won't be a thing.
Okay, that did not happen. All right. Another good one. Apparently it was Hogan or Jimmy Hart who, wanting to relive his glory days against the opponent he drew more money with than any other, patched things up to allow Savage to feud with Hogan. Although Savage will come in as a babyface and turn during the summer to set up a major fall program. So what Meltzer said was Savage is coming into WCW. Him and Hogan are going to be buddies, and then Savage is going to turn heel. Did that happen?
No,
it did not happen. Okay, no. So completely wrong. That's absolutely not.
You got Hogan laying out everybody now. Sherry's taking bumps all over the place. You got Flair taking them. Hogan he wasn't barely even hitting the ropes. He did not look good. Sherry taking a body slam. She's trying to climb out of the cage at this point. Hogan again.
Oh,
Ooh, geez, rough bump there. Not getting, almost didn't get full rotation on her.
These female valets and referees, they used to just get the shit kicked out of them.
Yeah.
Like it was nothing. And I mean, again, different era. And, but it was just, I mean, it happened all the time. Sherry took bumps every match.
Well, and that was my favorite when we got the opportunity to talk to Francine about that stuff. And she was just she was one of the boys. That was it. Like she was taking the bumps just like everybody else. Like it didn't matter. And so, and kind of having that. So Hogan, again, focusing on Sherry, her doing this in her lingerie. Oh, and the big boot to Sherry, taking her out.
It's a really good match.
It's kind of turned into some weird shenanigans, but yeah.
I like the shenanigans though. I mean, it's Hogan and Flair.
Well, this is, and that's what I was going to point out, that everything about this that we see is like Hogan and Flair. Like Hogan, he's always getting psyched up. Like there's certain points, like Flair is overselling everything. There's a big boot from Hogan to Flair, kind of getting him in position. It looks like, for the leg drop, positioning him so that Mr. T can count. Yep. Waking him up. Here we go.
1, 2, 3.
Got it.
Go. Hogan's your winner.
It's like the first pin attempt.
Place going nuts.
Yep. Celebrating.
Actually, you know what? I mean, I saw one guy booing, but not as big of a pop as you'd think.
No, not for what it was. And especially too, I mean, remember, this was a retirement match too. And so Hogan winning, retaining, but it's also the retirement match, kind of, saving Mr. T here, helping him out. Got the handcuffs. So apparently he had a handcuff key on him. Not like a major applause. I mean, I think they're into it, but I don't think it's like. So I'm guessing we have 11 more minutes this pay-per-view. So I'm guessing there's some shenanigans coming up. Celebrating with Muhammad Ali ringside.
Hogan closes for 11 minutes. So Mr. T, Muhammad Ali.
You get Muhammad Ali like barely kind of handing the title to Hogan. Hogan getting back in the ring now.
Hey, can I read my favorite though? My favorite Meltzer quote.
Yeah, because we got a little bit like.
Are there some shenanigans happening?
Read your Meltzer quote. Don't turn this match off. Yeah.
Okay. So we're staying in payoff mode. All right. This is from Meltzer, November 7th, 1994. Without Hogan, where does WCW go? It's a real paradox. To Sting, that day is long past. He's the shining star of 1988. We're talking 1995. Although he was on the card, Sting was not a factor for the record pay-per-view Bash at the Beach, has no effect on the Clash rating, and was only at the last show for a cameo. If he had potential to be the man to carry the company profitably, that ball was dropped many years ago. And they tried several times, in each case backing out because it wasn't working. So Sting was done in 1994.
Sure.
Friends,
Surfer Sting. Yep.
Friends, that was 25 fucking years ago. And Meltzer said this guy's done and he can't draw.
Yep. Yeah. See how that played out.
And he's still working.
So Hogan's still celebrating in the ring. Eventually here, we will get to shenanigans again.
These guys worked a bunch of pay-per-views. I'm sorry, a bunch of house shows leading up to this. A couple of them, I should say. 4,300 fans, 4,000 fans, 2,400 fans in Anaheim for Hogan Flair. WCW house show.
And this was we had it in the start of our notes here and didn't say it. Like the capacity, here we go. Okay. Capacity of Joe Louis is 21,000 for wrestling and they had about 14. So the masked individual now is back in the ring now with a steel pipe. And as Hogan is celebrating, Hogan doesn't know he's there. You can see a ton of empty seats waiting forever to hit Hogan. And there we go. Oh, well, Hogan's stopping whoever it is from hitting him with the pipe.
So he waited for Hogan to turn around. He didn't want to hit him with the steel in the back.
Oh, yep. Hogan got him though.
I have my guess on who it is, but let's see here. I think Hogan, I already may have mentioned it. So
yeah, playing it up now at this point. Big punch. Yep. Knocking down whoever the masked individual.
So the one Hulk Hogan punch knocked this guy out cold.
I want you to remember, after this reveal, remember they said Sting is not the future of the company, and this individual who he's about to unmask is who Hogan, they feel is to take on Hogan. And if you couldn't tell, yep, as you already said at the beginning of the show, that is brother, yep, or as more, as we all know him, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, yep.
And both commentators have said he's butchered the friendship, and he would be called the Butcher. So that was deliberate.
Yep. And so hang on. So now Beefcake Brother and Hogan arguing.
Okay, here comes the Dungeon of Doom, right?
Yep. And so you have the one over Kevin Sullivan in the ring as well, too.
Okay, there's Earthquake.
And there's, at this point, though, Avalanche.
Yeah,
yes.
He's still wearing like his Earthquake gear. Kind of
John Tenta, yep. So, okay, well, we can move on here because we can talk about what's going to happen because this is where we're getting into the aftermath territory now.
Yeah. Well, here's what I don't understand, though. You're trying to build up Beefcake to be in the main event of Starrcade against Hogan. Well, why not have him beat the shit out of Hogan? But instead, Brutus got knocked out cold with a punch. And now Earthquake's the one doing all the...
Look at all the empty seats, too.
Yeah, they all left. Well, Hogan was posing for 10 minutes.
Well, he was posing for too long. Yep. Okay.
We'll keep talking. Let's get into the aftermath.
Ho! It's time for the aftermath.
So the match itself was actually better than I would have thought.
Way better.
Like we're shenanigans at this point, like, of kind of what they're doing in the ring. But the match itself actually was not that bad. Like it was,
I thought the match was really good. I had no problem with the match. I like the shenanigans. I like the outside interference. I think some smoke and mirrors is kind of what they needed. I thought it was a better than usual cage match because I'm not a cage match guy because I just think it kind of restricts what you can do.
They didn't use the cage much, but yes. And now here
comes the guy that can't draw money according to
the cameo, his cameo appearance. Yep. Yeah.
So now Sting's going after these two. But again, how did you establish Brutus as a threat if he's just getting his ass kicked?
Right.
Like what makes you go, well, yeah, I didn't understand. So kind of odd booking, which hurts it. But yeah, really, really good match.
So this set up all of these after ring shenanigans, talking about the aftermath at this point. This set up actually a few matches at what was the next event. It was Clash of Champions 30 in January 25th, 1995. So this was end of October. And then it took them really 3 months before we got to these matches. And so that was, it was at Caesar's Palace. Actually, it was a small card. He had Arn Anderson beating Johnny B. Bad.
Clash of the Champions was at Caesar's Palace?
Clash of Champions 30. Yep. Paradise, Nevada from Caesar's Palace. Yep.
I wonder where they did it. I wonder if they just set up a tent or something because they don't have an arena in there.
No, we'll have to take a look here and kind of see how they did it.
You keep talking. I'm going to look. Yep. I'm curious.
So this card also had Harlem Heat defeating Stars and Stripes. And then the aftermath of these matches right here, you had Sting beating Avalanche by submissions. That was the Guardian Angel as Big Boss Man, if you will, as a special guest referee. Sting and Avalanche had a 5-minute match. And then Hogan and Savage actually beating Kevin Sullivan and the Butcher at this point in an 11-minute match. And so that's what that was the payoff and build to this one and the aftermath of kind of how that played out. So there you go. Good job on building to that. So
my guess on this Clash of the Champions, just based on the pictures, my guess is they did it in like a big ballroom and just set up some lighting and some people. It's really tough to tell. I'm curious. I'll go back and watch the show. But yeah, I was just kind of curious because they don't have like a, garden arena like MGM does. So
I'm looking here. It says 3,200 in attendance.
Yes, they probably just set up some bleachers.
Yep. And so not uncommon. So yeah. So, and so like getting into that, like also, so that was this Clash of Champions as well. You also had a Starrcade. There was a triple threat match. Starrcade triple threat. with Hogan at that point taking on the Butcher. It actually set up a feud against Vader as well too, which was at Super Brawl 5. And so just, kind of interesting. That would have been February of 1995, the year later. And so again, Flair getting involved in that match as well too. Who was kind of half managing Vader because Flair left for a little bit, or not left, but took some time off. We'll talk about that. So Hogan beating Vader. It was actually a non-title match at Uncensored as well too. Again, Flair getting involved. Just a lot of really, really weird stuff. But again, then Bash at the Beach the following summer. This is where you get the Hogan and Vader match in the steel cage, with Hogan winning that one by escaping the steel cage. And so, really, just Flair was kind of always in his realm and his circles, but it just unusual how it played out. Then you get Flair taking a little bit, he was gone off TV for a little bit, came back again. It was really an interview at that Clash of Champions, and then getting involved in these other matches and things like that, and kind of to deal with that. So, Flair pretty quickly after he returned, started feuding with Randy Savage again. Kind of dealing with all of that, and through really spring of 1995. And then we also know of one match that we have recently covered, because of just what it was and how crazy it was. April 1995 is when Flair wrestled Antonio Inoki in North Korea. And so, Hogan ended up feuding with, the Butcher at this point, Brutus and Vader, and then Flair taking on Savage and going over to North Korea. So, and we all know, hopefully we all know or heard the stories after watching the dark side on that of just kind of how crazy that all was. So making sense though of all this.
The dark side, you still haven't watched Canyon yet, have you?
I know I have.
You're way behind. All right, well, we'll look.
I know. I thought it was on Wednesdays and it was on Thursdays. It just.
We'll talk. Yeah. We'll talk about. We'll talk about this season's Dark Side of the Ring in 2022.
Yeah, we've got some. Yeah, we've got. We will eventually cover. We'll do some special episodes just for that. And so,
I'm
that's
frustrated. Okay. I want to talk to you about these things.
I know, man. I'm sorry. I know we talk as much as we talk about. So 1994. Without looking it up, Tom, I will say Flair was number 3 on the PWI. Hulk was the number 2 on the PWI. In 1994, do you want to take a stab at who was number 1 on the PWI? 1994.
I'm going to guess Brett.
Yeah, it was Brett. And so 1993 and 1994, it was Brett. So, yep. So
if Meltzer did a 500 back in 1994, no one would have been in the U.S. It would have all been All Japan, New Japan.
Well, and
Independence.
It's just yeah. Well, this is and the articles came out very quickly after Meltzer gave Brian his 5-star in that match. And so, yeah, it's just, what are you going to do? So of course we'll get into the PW torch on this one. Hulk Hogan pinned Ric Flair to retain the WCW WCW heavyweight title and force Flair into retirement. A crowd well short of a sellout saw Hulk Hogan pin Ric Flair after a circus of outside activity and interference. As a result, barring false advertising of the match stipulations, Flair must retire forever and never return to the ring, and Hogan retains the WCW title. After special referee Mr. T came to the ring and Flair was introduced, Hogan's music began and the building exploded. At times, distinctive Hogan sucks chants, but for the most part, it was a pro-Hogan crowd. Hogan came to the ring with the WCW belt around his waist. 3.5 stars. One of the writers said on this one, Hogan and Flair was predictable, although easily the best of the night. It had all the elements thrown in that they have shoved down our throats over the last few months. Flair worked extremely hard, and even Hogan seemed inspired, but the script seemed beyond stupid. You could see this coming from a mile away. The other thing you could see is Flair's return from his phony retirement. I would think within 6 months, Flair will be back. Perfect. A company built around Hogan needs strong heels, and Brutus and Tenta are jokes in that regard. Vader would be excellent, but Hogan is a pansy, and that program is thus unworkable. So that's a hot take. The Observer newsletter on this one, which I did appreciate this line from Meltzer. Can anyone name a wrestler who has had a heavily pushed retirement match that has actually never come back? No. This match was absolutely perfect from the standpoint of getting Hogan over, since by the time it was over, he seemed to get 100% cheers from the audience that was split when he came out. However, a very large percentage of the viewing audience live and on pay-per-view were pro Flair, and those fans were left more than just disappointed. They were turned off in major faction to the point many of them will be done with WCW. Okay. He didn't start, or excuse me, and that one, well, what happened to my notes here? Yeah, he gave that one 4.25 stars. Sure. Okay. So 4.25, 3.5. A couple interesting takes on this one. Tom, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything in there. Again, I thought the match was really good. I really enjoyed it. The problem is, that the stipulation's bullshit. I had no issue with the interference, but it didn't affect the match outcome. And Hogan didn't get the shit kicked out of him afterwards. So it's like, if Brutus almost costs Hogan the match and then afterwards beats the shit out of him and leaves him a bloody mess standing tall with the Dungeon of Doom, then I think it's a good, like a well-booked finish. But it was just goofy how they did it. So I'm going to give this a 6. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. But man, again, the booking, the WCW, the booking was so bad. And look, wrestling people will say, well, you've never been a booker before. You've never had to do. Okay. But I'd like to think that I could have came up with something better than that, given the people that were involved. Mm-hmm. What about you?
I actually had it at a 6 until the match was better than I thought, and it was a 6.5. And so that's why I'm going to go with as a 6.5 on this one, because yeah, like I said, I was pleasantly surprised with how the match played out. I actually, like you said, there were some shenanigans, but I actually think that was worth it. It wasn't bad. We've seen way worse on here. And so now comparatively, like, when we always say we do our score based on the build, we do our score based on the payoff, and then the aftermath. We look at everything. And we also have, at this point, almost, 15, 20 years, 25 years of, since this one happened, to look back and say, hey, how did this play out? Is it, did it really work out in the long run? Like, no, I guess, whatever. It really doesn't matter, because there's just one of many storylines, and it was trying to get Hulk over when he first got there. And so 6.5 is fine. Like I said, I think because the story and stuff just was crappy in my opinion. But like you said, and the booking was what it was. But at the same time, like the match, like who would have thought, like it was, there's a baseline for what I would consider to be a Hogan Flair match compared to like, something that was more technical or something like that. But this match was a little bit better than I would have expected out of these two guys. So 6.5.
I would assume it's probably one of the highest rated, if not the highest rated match between these two.
We'll have to report back. Okay.
Yeah, I can't imagine there's a higher rated match between these two.
I'm just looking here. So this is a list of the 12 best matches ever. And so the only one they ranked higher was actually this is from the Sportster. And so this is unscientific. The only higher rated match was the Bash at the Beach match.
Oh, it was rated higher. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and this is again, unofficial, unscientific. And so, because then there's like when they have their second televised match ever. This was Madison Square Garden Network in 1991. Their first televised match in 1991. Him getting a win Monday, or Rick beating him 1996 on Nitro. Their best late period match, Super Brawl 9, 1999. And so that could be one we could potentially go back and take a look at. Their last televised match, 2002 on Raw. And so a lot of run-ins, it says on that one. So yeah, but anyway, so yeah, maybe we'll have to pull the actual numbers and take a look at it. But I think in regards to unofficial list, like either this or the Bash at the Beach match. Yep.
Okay. That's all we got for this week, huh?
Good stuff. Yeah, as always. Or visiting your territory, your favorite promotion next week. I know we're excited about that one.
EC Dub.
Yep. Let's bring him. Let's send him home happy, and looking forward to a great episode next week too.
All right. Well, as always, appreciate the support. Appreciate you listening. We'll see you next week on an all new episode of The Payoff.